Hey y'all, so I love a good tote bag. Like I have my favorite tote bag that I carry probably every day, or at least most days when I leave the house. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of days that I don't leave the house, especially lately. But I have my favorite tote bag, and it's actually literally hanging on the back of my door because my sewing room's in the front of the house. And I like to keep it really close so whenever I'm walking out and I have a bunch of random stuff that I need somewhere to put, I have a tote bag to grab. Like I keep a few of them in my trunk. Though admittedly, a few of them are grocery store or HEB tote bags because y'all, they have some really good tote bags. And sustainability. I like to use reusable tote bags for my groceries. I also have a few tote bags that I keep in my husband's car. I guess you can say me and tote bags go together like this. Plus, it's really one of my favorite handmade gifts to give to family and friends. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple tote bag, or a library tote is what I've also heard it referred to. But before we get into that, just want to introduce myself and say, hey, if you're new here, my name is Shelly. If you're day one or been around for a while, hey y'all, I'm back and with a tutorial like I promised. So I'm a bag maker and I also run my own handmade goods and accessories business. So now that's out the way, let me show y'all this tote bag. Isn't this so cute? So of course there's gonna be a little twist to the classic tote because hey, it's me. So as you can see, I put an accent panel right here as well as some peekaboo fabric on the straps. So a little piece of lint right there. But on one side of the straps this is cotton webbing, and on the other side I put some fabric from the exterior. I like to do that because it really jazzes up the tote bag a little bit, and then this accent panel also takes it from being simple to better or professional, or just a really cute tote bag. And it also will get you a lot of compliments. And then on the inside we have a totally different color, which just kind of adds to the uniqueness of this tote bag. So in this video I'm going to be showing you exactly how to make this, though we will be using different fabric, y'all, because why not? Plus I don't have much more of this fabric to go around. So one of the good things about this bag is that you can make this bag with 1 yard of fabric in total. Obviously, if you choose to make it just like this, where there's an accent panel and a different color on the inside, you will need differing fabrics. However, it's a good way to use up some scraps because all in all, you're only gonna need 1 yard of fabric. So without further ado, let's jump into this tutorial. So I'm gonna be using different fabric for this bag. I got this super cute fabric off Etsy. It's sewing theme with all these different sewing phrases, and this is gonna be the accent panel. Y'all, I can't wait to make this bag. I think it's gonna be super cute. So this is what the exterior is going to look like, and I went back and forth with what color fabric I want to put on the inside. Obviously I could do a black fabric, but I feel like that would be kind of boring, so I think I want to go in with this. I don't know, I'm looking at my stash right now like maybe I should do a color like a red or a blue. I feel like that would be really pretty, or even a lime green. I just looked at the lime green fabric and I think it's calling my name. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Okie dokie, so I have all my supplies here, but before I go to the sewing machine, I want to let you know that I will be using Oregon Microtex needles. You will need some clips or pins. I prefer clips over pins any day, so I have clips. As far as my webbing, I'm using 1-inch webbing that I have cut 2 pieces at 30 inches long. The accent handle piece, I have 2 of these as well. They are 2 inches wide by 30 inches long. My exterior panels, so the large panel measures 16 inches long by 9.5 inches across. The 2 accent pieces are also 16 inches long by 6 inches across. And my lining piece, also 16 inches long, but this one measures 14 3/4 inches across. All right, so you're also gonna need some interfacing to give your bag some structure. I have two kinds here. The first one is SF 101. Y'all, as you can see, I buy this by the bulk because I use a lot of it. But I'm gonna be using 101 to interface the lining. And this is a Therafuse interfacing. It's a lot thicker. You probably can't see the thickness on camera, but it's a lot thicker than the 101, and I'm going to be using this to interface the exterior pieces of the bag. I can't remember right now where I purchased this from, but everything will be listed and linked in the description box. All right, so first up, we're going to grab those two exterior pieces. We're going to lay them right side to right side on the long edge and pin them together. Clip them together. And if your pieces are directional, just make sure they are both facing the same way. All right, so I'm gonna take these to the sewing machine and sew at 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, so I'm back from the sewing machine. I have my two front pieces sewn together. So I'm just gonna flip it over to the wrong side and press these seams open. Okay, so once you get those seams nice and pressed, we're gonna grab our interfacing. And by the way, I cut this interfacing at 14 by 15 inches wide. I want to give myself enough room on each side so that the interfacing doesn't get too far into the seam allowances. All right, so now once I have it nice and center, I'm going to give this a press. And so you're gonna want to apply your interfacing in accordance with the directions. Most times you just need to hold it for about 20-30 seconds in each space with no steam to adhere the glue. While I still have my ironing pad out, I'm gonna go ahead and prep my strap pieces. So what you wanna do is take the piece, fold it in half, and press. So if you've ever made binding or bag straps, it's kind of the same thing. So what we're gonna do is fold this in half, press, and then we're gonna open it up using that middle line. We're gonna fold both edges toward that middle line and then press again. But don't worry, if none of that made sense, of course, I am going to be showing you exactly what I mean. All right, now that it's pressed, you're gonna take one of the edges and press it in. I always hate this part because it gets so hot. I feel like I need some ironing gloves. All right, so you're just gonna press both sides in just like this. All right, my fingers are definitely on fire, but this is all pressed. So now I'm just gonna grab my webbing piece. And as a reminder, this webbing is 1-inch webbing that I cut 30 inches long. As you can see, there are the words Dream Big embossed on here. And I'm not really a fan of that, so this is definitely a good way to cover this up and still get use out of this webbing. So what you want to do, and hold on, pause. I just want to say this is optional. This is not necessary. If you wanted to just go ahead and use your webbing as is on your bag, feel free. This is definitely a design choice that I like and that you can do if you want, if you have the extra fabric, but feel free to just omit this whole part. But if you are doing this, you want to go ahead and lay that webbing wrong side down on top of the webbing. And you want to go ahead, I'm going to grab my clips and clip it in place. So just want to note that it's extremely important that your fabric piece does not lay over and is flush with your webbing, because your straps get a lot of wear and tear, so you don't want this piece pulling or over and getting nicked at all the time, because it will start to fray. And one thing that you could do too to this fabric piece, you can always interface it to make it thicker, more sturdier. But since it's going up against this webbing, this is nylon webbing, and it's already very sturdy, it's not necessary. But if you want to, you can definitely do it. So I will finish clipping this down off camera, but once it's done, this is what it should look like. All right, so all my pieces are prepped and ready to go. I have my lining pieces, both exterior pieces, my straps, and I also have 2 labels that I'm gonna add into the bag. I'm gonna put this one somewhere on the exterior panel and this somewhere on the lining. But first things first, I'm gonna go to the sewing machine and I'm going to do top stitching along both sides of this panel at about 1/8 of an inch. And then next up, I'm going to sew this lining piece onto this webbing at 1/8 inch on both sides. All right, so once you have your panel and you've done your top stitching as well as sewn down the fabric pieces on your webbing, if you chose to do that or not, go ahead and take your panel piece. What we're gonna do is find the center point. And here is mine. I'm just gonna line it up with this right here on my cutting mat to make it a lot easier for me to be able to evenly clip my straps in place. So I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3 inches over and clip that in place. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, just to make sure they're even. I'm gonna do that like that. And what I'm gonna do is just lay this one on top to make my life a whole lot easier. I need to trim off this excess. All right, and I'm just going to do the same thing and clip this strap in place right here. All right, and now I'm gonna take these to the sewing machine and baste them down at 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so now that these are basted on, what we're gonna do is turn these exterior panels right side to right side and clip in place. All right, so we're gonna clip around the whole perimeter of the bag. Make sure you try to keep these straps out of your way as much as possible. All right, we're gonna move this to the side and do the same thing with the lining pieces. So you're gonna take them, put them right side to right side, and clip along the perimeter. So instead of putting my hole at the bottom, I like to put my hole at the side because it's a little bit more difficult to see that when you're looking in your bag. So I'm going to leave a hole right here as an indication when I get to the sewing machine not to sew that part down. And actually, I'm gonna just switch up the clips. Therefore, when I get to the sewing machine, I will actually remember. Because there's been plenty of times I forget and end up sewing the whole bag around and having to go and seam rip it because I forgot to leave a turning hole. Alright, so we're headed back to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew all the way around the perimeter of the exterior at 3/8 inch seam allowance. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing with the lining panel. I'm going to start here, stitch all the way around, come right here, stop and back stitch. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, stitch down using 3/8 inch seam allowance and back stitch about right here. So what I want left open right here is about 5-6 inches, which gives us a pretty nice turning hole. So both pieces are now sewn together, and I am excited because we are at the last few steps. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and just trim down the edges. I'm trimming them down to about 1/4 inch. Okay, so you'll notice that I did not cut the bulk around the opening because I've learned that you need that. You need a little bit of extra fabric right there so that you have something to fold when it comes time to sew that together. And so what you could do if you wanted it to be all nice and perfect, you could go to the sewing machine. I'm sorry, not the sewing machine, but the pressing station, and press that down flat. But I'm not gonna do that. I'll just wait till I'm pressing the bag together at the end and put that together. All right, so we're gonna leave the exterior inside out, and we're gonna take the lining piece and turn it right side out. So go ahead and poke out your corners and all that jazz. You're gonna put the lining inside the exterior, and it's important to make sure you have them right side to right side. So let me find my clips. All right, so starting with the seams right here, you're going to line those up, and you could nest your seams and clip. You're just gonna do this all the way around the bag. And if you kept your seam allowances nice and even, it should match up perfectly. All right, I'm around to the other seam and see how it matches up nice and perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and nest those together. And feel free to use as many clips as you need. That's what they are for. Okay, so now that I have it all clipped in place, nice and even, I'm gonna take this to the sewing machine and sew around it at 3/8 inch seam allowance, just like we've done with the rest of the bag. Now it's time to turn this baby out. So go ahead and pull out your lining and start to pull it through. All right, I got my pressing mats. I got these from Oliso, by the way. I got 4 of them so I can make this pressing station bigger if I need to. But I really like these mats because they hold heat. I once took them to an event and I just laid my iron down on them, and by the time I got home, 3 hours later, they were still hot. And I love it because, y'all, my last cutting mat got all warped from me ironing on top of it, and I don't have to worry about that with these mats because they hold heat so very well. All right, so I'm just gonna pull my straps toward the lining, and I'm gonna use this hole to help me kind of finger press the seam allowances at the top down toward the exterior. And I just find this easier when I top stitch. Everything is already pressing in the direction that I need it to go. This hole on the side also allows me to come through and just push this out really good and press it. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and push the lining in. I see how, hopefully you can see how it just falls down into place. So I'm just gonna finger press it. I was gonna clip it, but I'm gonna add just a little heat so everything stays in place a little bit better. This would definitely be an optimal job for my baby Oliso, but I don't feel like waiting on it to heat up. All right, so now that I've pressed it, let's go ahead and finger press while it's hot. Push that lining down in that bag and clip. So I just like to do this to make sure the lining is rolled down in there and not peeking up. I want it to be a surprise, like you can't see it through the top, but when you get close to the bag, it's like, oh, that's vibrant. So we're finally at the last step of putting this bag together. So next up, we just need to top stitch at about 1/8 inch from the top, then pull the lining out, secure that hole, and then we'll be all done. All right, y'all, so that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed sewing along with me, and I hope you have a really cute tote bag to show for it. If you made this tote bag, please tag me. I would love to see your makes. I am Shelly Shell on all the social medias. You can also find me at Nina Jo Collective, which is where I share a lot of my bag making content. So tag me. Either way, I'll find it. I would love to see your makes. For any reason, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box and I will be sure to answer them. All right, y'all, until the next one, happy sewing.